Duck. Online, we go by Nathan or Duck. Your call, guys. I'm going to go ahead and flip messages, comments on. Let's go like that. And let's see here. Dunce Trump's track record, a tale of two Trumps. That's the title of the stream. And so I'm going to flip a Trump. Let's go here. So I said, change my mind. Trump is a dunce and Trump is a violent criminal. So you got one or the other. Hey, thanks, David. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, I guess. Let me go here and I'll pin the message. Ugh, holy mackerel. Change my mind. Trump is a dunce. Trump is a violent criminal. And let me put up this poll here. Bam. There, we got a highly academic, scholastic, qual-quant poll going, guys. So we have, so we got some time to hang out and whatever. I'll flip a goal on. Let's see if see what becomes of it. 5 super chats. We'll say all the colors. Let me set up. Hopefully we've got audio. Let's go for we'll say a nice long stream or something. Hopefully, if we can get anything going, guys, we'll see and share how we'll celebrate. Thanks. Cool. Oh, man. So I started off my Saturday with a nice little cup of coffee. I'm here in Arizona, so it's nice and early. Yeah. And the most recent, very sad, Tulsi Gabbard's resignation. DNI Gabbard, resigned. Her husband diagnosed with bone cancer. So obviously that would be incredibly traumatic to be working in a civilian capacity for defense. Hey, what's going on, Anime? How are you doing? A very sad thing to be working in a civilian capacity for defense or something like this. When you are going through a traumatic family event. But this doesn't change the fact that Trump has this track record with women that is abysmal. Oh, snap. You're in Florida. Man, so you're already going on. It's lunchtime, brother. Burgers and beer or something. Vegan burgers, vegan beer or something. Whatever time it is for you. Yeah, that's wild. That's wild. Yeah, so DNI Gabbard is just, obviously we would hope for a miraculous recovery. We would hope for a recovery, some good news. We would hope for healing, all these types of things for her. She's, despite the political, it's like irrespective of the political divide, we don't want to wish bad things for other people. And so, I'm in Arizona. Yeah, I'm in Arizona. It's in the Southwest United States, and it's a cool place. Arizona. It's this small little it's a small little desert state, but Arizona is interesting. We've got up north. We have a forest. Down south, there's actually rainforests. There's the ecology is technically rainforests and stuff here. So it's a very cool thing. Of course. So anyways, I would point out that Trump's DNI Gabbard's recent bad news, her departing from the post, doesn't change the track record that we generally have with Trump and women. When we look at not just his time in office and the fact that he seemed, it's not beyond question or criticism if he had appointed women to posts that would be bearing the most difficult or hardest jobs, given his campaign promises, basically these, unwinnable, play a dumb game, win a stupid prize type positions in the cabinet for women to start off with. And it does seem that when he has these sort of prestige, he thinks in these dumb cultural terms himself. You gotta build a ballroom. It's you gotta be out front about your accomplishments. It's not that you've completed a war or a campaign anyone understands in Iran. It's the fact in the first place that you had you'd gone out and done something stupid, but you put Pete Hegseth out front. You want the guy to look himself in front of a jet engine, in front of a plane, a tank, and say we've won something. You got Marco Rubio. He returns from this dumb trip from Latin America, doesn't get anything. In fact, things get worse after this. And then, hey, what's going on? Curiosity and Erwin, great to see you guys. And then right after this trip, Marco Rubio's back, and then it's like, oh, well, okay, what we're going to do then is we're going to put some operators on a helicopter and go get this Venezuelan president out, and then we're going to hold him captive in New York City. And then we're going to say we're going to do the same thing to Raul Castro in Cuba. And as an American, it's kind of like, okay, well, I had very few questions about whether the United States could do those things because we can, right? You did it. There you go. Right. There's a long history of special forces and intelligence organizations working in tandem to go do crazy stuff around the world. Right. The stuff that movies are made out of, the stuff that action scenes are made out of. But those, to wonder whether or not this is interventionism, but also whether or not this is like U.S. politics at its finest. I don't think there's a lot to celebrate there. I don't think there's a ton to celebrate there. Hey, thanks, David. I appreciate it. I don't know that I'm. Yeah. And so, when Donald Trump, when he fills his cabinet with people, and we wonder, well, these are cronies. He's given Eric Trump. He's given all these people in his family, these nepotistic people, these positions and stuff. What exactly is it? What exactly is it that these people are doing? So my question to you is, where or why do you believe a president or any leader has the opportunity to put women in power and be successful with it, right? When we're talking about actual representation, saying, hey, well, it's 50-50. Any country you go to, it's half men, half women. Shouldn't we be taking our hands off of the man wheel, right? If you've got two steering wheels or you've got, this control console you don't totally understand, you should take your hands off that wheel. Hey, what's going on? Still me? Great to see you. You should take your hands off that wheel and so it's a little bit of this thing. It's just one of these things, So that to me, when I'm asking this poll question, Trump is a dunce. He's a violent criminal. He's both these things. Hey, what's going on, Alicia? It's one of these things where it's like, well, we've got a lot of places we can actually look, right? So these aren't just it's not just anything in politics. It's not things in politics. It's also this idea that, you can ask why he hires Pam Bondi. He hires Pam Bondi. He doesn't let Pam Bondi do the job of the AG. The job of the AG is to have oversight. If it's the case that any of the federal agencies are committing crimes, right? And these aren't Trump's agencies, right? You assign people, you have a budget you have to administer. This isn't a country club. It's not Pow Pow. It's not Buddy Buddy. It's none of these things. And so it's just one of these things where it's like, it's one of these things where if you are in politics and you're interested in politics, you see a Fox News story, it's like, okay, well, what's the actual relationship supposed to be there? Are you taking for what the relationship is actually supposed to be? Are you taking valuable input from both men and women, from people irrespective of identity when you should, these types of things? Hey, we got Sam Kronos in chat. Great to see you. We're just doing a little bit discussion, Trump debates if you guys want to. Hey, Smokey, great to see you. You look like a vegetarian. I have a vegan diet. Yeah, I was a vegetarian in high school. Yeah, yeah. So, um, yeah, but I do think that's one important point is that you might hear this phrase sometimes saying context dependent. Is something context dependent? Yeah, a lot of things are, right? You would imagine if you were at a theme park. Let's say you go to a theme park and in one stupid example, you go to a hot dog stand or a churro stand at the theme park, and you say, "Well, hey, I want to get a sous vide steak. I want to get a sous vide steak. I want some asparagus. I want a potato on the side. So ring me up and then give me the steak." The guy would look at you. The person working the churro stand would look at you like you're crazy because that's not on the menu. And in another case, if you go to Space Mountain in Disneyland, Disney World, something like this, or race car track, race car driver, and you say, "Hey, I want you to put the fuzzy, fluffy steering wheel cover on the." Hey, thanks so much, Smokey. Very kind. I appreciate it. We got the otters laughing. Very cute, dude. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, if you guys, when you guys support me and your favorite YouTubers, it goes far. Helps me cover months of expenses. So thank you, and it makes the stream a lot of fun. Appreciate it. Support your favorite streamers. And this is a little bit like politics, right? It's not that it's context dependent. It's just some rides, if you want your go-kart track, you want your go-kart track to do loop-de-loops, it just doesn't do that, right? And you can ask why it doesn't do that, but you can't make it do a loop-de-loop when you want it to. Show us your script. I'm very knowledgeable. I've thought a lot about this. I'm not more knowledgeable than anyone else, right? But that's what we're talking about, guys. We're talking a little bit. I refuse to go to theme parks. I will not be defined by a theme. Yeah, hell yeah. Let's anarchy in the UK, anarchy everywhere. Fight the power, fight the system. Yeah, yeah. Yo, what do you have for breakfast 2 days ago? I chew black coffee. I chew on black coffee in the morning. That's how I have breakfast. Trump is a good man, right? Hey, I don't know what you mean by good man, right? I typically don't judge other men. Hey, I'm just saying, no, shout out to everybody in chat, but I'm just saying, I'm not judging other men saying you're a good man, you're a bad man. I need Gnostic firsthand experience with that, before we can actually get into it, So I'm just going to say that. Yeah. But this is kind of what Trump, my accusation against Trump's track record with women, outside of the most serious claims, which is that, Trump has long associated with sexual predators who target women and target children, right? Both sides of it. That's Epstein, is a sexual predator targeting men and women. You are dumb. You're not. Wait, someone says, hold on, guys. You are dumb. You do not realize the real threat for America and Europe is the invasive. If you're gonna show religious hatred, you can show me in the Quran and Surah where you see it. Show me in the Quran and Surah where you see it, right? And then I'll go through your heritage. I'll go through your identity, and I'll show you the same exact thing. So you wanna be hateful towards Muslims for no reason. Really bad, man. Really bad. This is part of, this is also not leadership. If we go back, the analogy that you're in your theme park, you're not getting a sous vide steak at a churro stand. In your theme park, you're not going to have go-karts doing loop-de-loops, right? You have to look at it. You have to have the context for how the system works, what that is, what something is. Cool out on that stuff. Slow it down. Try to condense it to one message. If you're going to voice your, you will have no idea how Islam is taking over the West. This came from geopolitics, right? This came from the first fact that George Bush invaded the Middle East. If you actually want to look at the rise of extremism, and so what you're afraid of is that poor farmers living through famine ended up getting offered jobs and also having these strong religious beliefs, very simple, linear explanations for why things were going bad for them and their family and their country, And so you say, well, who's always adopted actual tribalism? It's always been poor, ignorant people. And I'm guessing, just my guess is that if you're going to come here, type this up in my chat, my guess is that it's also the case that you, your friends and family have similar explanations, right? There is an analogy fundamentally in the explanation. That's either true or it isn't, right? When I talk about context dependent, no sous vide steak at the churro stand, right? No loop-de-loops in your go-karts. If I actually take your statement and wonder, wow, what does this do to me? What does this say? I think what you're driving this towards is, yeah, can we find out if there's people in the world, in the West, who are Islamophobic, who have political beliefs and topics that are way over their head, that actually they have those opinions and beliefs for the fact that they weren't educated in the first place. In his own words, he said that he grabs women. Yeah. William, that's a great point. I agree, right? That's enough said. But we should, right? If anything, you cannot stop living, right? And I do mean living truthfully, right? You cannot stop living that, if you have a president who's giving people like A.G. Pam Bonding, giving people like Kristi Noem. So these are women, but they're also women who are willing to go along with Trump's violent, stupid rhetoric and plan. But you're giving these people these positions, and it seems like it is without explanation why Renee Good and Alex Preddy's shooting deaths were not investigated. It is without explanation why ICE detention programs were expanded so rapidly. And then, Pam Bondi underwrites $100 million detention center in my home state of Arizona, right? I could literally, whatever, I don't even need to start my car up and gas it up. I could hop on a bike. I could hop on a skateboard and go down to this detention facility that Kristi Noem wanted to open in my city. And then all of a sudden, what do we actually have? Well, she's out the door. She's out the door. So this is not just poor leadership. And this is maybe a great point to consider if we're talking about context dependence. Hey, high density. Hey, Vic. If we're talking about context dependence or whatever it is, then you would ask if Donald Trump's a competent leader. You say, hey, you're going to go spend a couple $100 million. This is a project that needs to prove itself out over the next 3 years. That's like the minimum time frame any reasonable person would look at. This is going to mean that detainees are getting to courts on time. They got access to their lawyers. Everyone stays safe. And you have understanding or recognition of what the people there are doing. So there's oversight. And Donald Trump didn't even achieve this. So he's way down that ladder. Leftists are unwilling to defend their home. As such, the will always lose. So leftism is a political philosophy, is about collectivism. It's about collectivism in politics. So your statement has very little to do with anything. I don't know why this to me reminds me of Charlie Kirk's schizophrenia, Charlie Kirk's mental illness. Charlie Kirk would stop debates, guys. Charlie Kirk would stop debates and tell people that he would pop a PDF in the middle of a debate, right? And so it's not a normal thing to go into a chat room, go into online content and just say, hey, are you defending your home? That's insane. That is an insane statement. That bears no resemblance to reality. So I don't know, you're going to make this case that, well, we're talking about politics. I mean, it's very crazy to try to stop a conversation to ask if a leftist would defend their homes. Like, actually pull back the context of what you just said and did there. We need a Western alliance, not division. The West has massive alliances, right? If you guys, you can look at economic and military modalities. Some of you guys may agree or disagree. And guys, if you're just coming in, feel free to hit the like button. And I'm going through comments, chats. Good to meet you guys. The West, there's Western alliances, there's civilizational alliances, right? Europe, the US, we buy a bunch of stuff from China, we sell a bunch of stuff to China. And so, when we're talking about economic, military, geopolitical, actually the biggest ones that matter, Donald Trump's past this illusion that everything's all bad all the time. But you would ask, right? Question, answer. Donald Trump says everything's bad between the West and the rest all the time. Donald Trump says everything's bad between America and the rest all the time. Question, answer. If so, Why were there not constant wars prior to Trump taking office? Why was there peaceful diplomacy? Why were there people that said, I want to focus on something else? I'm sick of this. Ask, answer, right? So the answer is that Donald Trump, in my opinion, is actually delusional and incompetent, right? He's delusional, he's incompetent. The fact that he can be assessed as a president on the level of feminism, and not in a normative sense, just in a Jesus Christ, how bad has it gotten sense. These are two reasons that I don't think you should be a MAGA Republican. You should never vote for a politician who's backed Donald Trump. And you should insist the GOP goes back to traditional conservative American values. Hopefully we have something like the Nuremberg trials when the nightmare is over. If there's actual wrongdoing, understanding how the mechanisms. Today, I'm a little more on the process side. So a little more on the process side personally. That's just how I feel today, though, William. I don't know that I agree or disagree. If Donald Trump's committed crimes and those come to light, the law applies to everyone. That's never been up for question. And the second thing is just, how many different mistakes can a president make? Chicken Run. We got Chicken Run in chat. Shout out to you. Hey, Gypsy Mom, best president ever. Cool. Yeah. Maybe. Reagan, Bush, Trump, last three Republican presidents. Prove your claim or instantiate. This is one of the things is that we've heard so much from the media, the news, surface level reporting. And so there's never an ability to flip the script. There's never an ability for it's not conservative media anymore. It's nationalism, right? Nationalism, you can maybe it's, who knows? I don't know. It's a question. When you're actually gaining context, judging a scenario for what it is it more difficult to flip that narrative around and say, well, look, I'm actually looking for people's deeply held political beliefs sometimes. Sometimes I do want that, right? I don't just want to hear the hatred, and then what you're going to do about it, right? I mean, it's very silly. We have seen Iran, Lebanon. We have numbers for European nation. Leftists wouldn't fight when. So now you're changing the story. So first you want to stop the conversation to talk about leftists defending their homes. And then, what you meant by that, right? Really accurate language, very poetic. Now you're talking about when Russia invades. So I don't know what year you're living in. I don't know. It sounds like you're completely uneducated, though. Charlie Kirk was not mental. You are what? Do you think Trump is a total prat? I don't know what that means. That's funny. It's funny language. I think Donald Trump is so eager to not understand what reality is like and offer a shared view of that reality. I think even when we assess Donald Trump as a neoconservative and someone subscribing to offensive realism, these ideas that you're going to support the nation state, you're going to intervene in affairs that are unfavorable, and you're going to bias regional security, right? He's sending 5,000 troops to Poland right now. That's like a very scary example of interventionism. I would suggest it appears that having this presence is meant for some reason that who knows, whatever it is. But when you say that, well, if you actually break this down to the level of how he conducts himself and manages his business, and that is relevant, not only can we disagree with the lack of strategy, but it's the rest of it as well. When will you lose your right to speak your mind under Sharia law? What? Yeah, so under Sharia laws, I mean, if you want to read Sharia law, you say it like it's this mysterious thing, but go read it in the Quran and Surah, then pick up your Bible, and you're going to find that all monotheistic religions are absolutely batshit crazy. So that, to me, that's very simple. If you don't want, Christian nationalists or whatever this is wanting to fight for, you want a theocracy, but it's your theocracy. You want the 10 commandments in schools for little kids. Right. So you've got these really creepy ideas. But then when it comes down to other people, you've got your own, right? You've got your own worldview. I have my own, my own dentist system. I have a dentist system for Muslims, is like what you're saying to me, basically. All right. I'm scrolling down a little bit, guys. You guys can tag me at DuxY if I need to read something. He just pulled 5,000 troops out of Germany. It's simply a repositioning. Cool. Well, I'll have to look it up in, I don't know what it means for I don't know what any of that actually means in reality. But yeah, it sounds like you're offering a surface level interpretation that you haven't thought about either, and you're saying that, whatever. I don't think what you said means anything, or it could mean anything in any world. So nobody's actually pushed Sharia law in the West. That's all fear mongering. Yeah, that's a fact. That's true. Right? There's Christian courts in the U.S. Right? This is the old Texas. Keep Sharia out of Texas. Right? There's Christian courts in Texas. There's Christian courts in Texas. So there's nothing that's there. It is a little weird. It's a little strange, but hey, there you go. Hey, what's going on, Shadows? Trump. Yeah, Trump pulled out. Yeah, I mean, you're, saying that you have a headline and that substitutes for reality. That's a very strange approach to geopolitics. But Trump is like a televangelist, the same, right? And this is the weird thing, is if you're in the US, you may forget that the US just having military bases all around the world is geopolitics, right? It is geopolitics. It isn't not geopolitics when you move your assets around the world, and these are assets designed, the sole purpose of funding assets like the 5,000 troops now in Poland is to kill people, right? US troops don't go plant fields. You're not daisy farmers. You're not making seed oils to go sell to Kentuckians or something like this. US military forces are designed to hurt people. You seem like a spoon-fed man-child. Do I? I don't know what why you have a seeming about me, or something like that. But yeah, that's either true or it isn't, right? It's about what you're willing to do to be honest and truthful, May, I think. But oh, May, because what you feel is what you are, and what you are is beautiful. Oh, May, you want to get married and run away. Yeah. I mean, because your statement is so meaningless that I would rather just sing Goo Goo Dolls to you. So why don't you slide? I'll ask a question. Can Christians, Hindus, Buddhists practice their religious beliefs in Islamic countries? From the mouths of dumb questions that don't need to be answered, right? Well, he can't answer it for what reason, right? Like, I would pull all of this back, because you have been, if you don't see that I've talked about several different topics now, and you've been, what do you guys think about welfare, right? What do you guys think about social safety nets? What do you guys think about defunding some of those programs, or if not defunding, about fiscal conservatism entering those conversations, right? You've been in the chat room for 20 minutes now. I'm about to time you out. I appreciate you supporting the channel, but you've been talking about Muslims for 20 minutes now. Seems like it's a form of delusion. All right. Well, I'll show you how much I can't accept the question. If you want to come back in 24 hours, feel free. Maybe you'll have a different topic by then. So that's not that hard of a choice. It is a little, it hurts, right? But I'm not going to sit here and talk about your hatred for Muslims for 2 hours, right? There's 30 people here, 20 people here. Do I support, I don't know what it would mean to support circumcision. I don't know what it would mean to support circumcision. So I don't know. Circumcision isn't like my number one political issue. It really wasn't, right? If you say Western civilization was born out of Christianity, it really wasn't, right? You have Roman bureaucracy predating Christianity, don't you? I believe so. Right, so you have bureaucratic structures. You also have jurisprudence from Hammurabi's Code, right? Hammurabi's Code is notably, it's both the first system of laws, which is like the Wikipedia fact. But yeah, if you were a political theorist, you could probably reference it in scholasticism in a peer-reviewed paper and talk about how Hammurabi's Code was written for everyone in society to be able to read it and understand it. This is also a trait between Sharia law and Hammurabi's Code. I'm obviously, in 2026, I'm not suggesting that we should have Sharia law or Hammurabi's Code governing people. But if you want to look at the, like, I mean, this is a very low bar to say that you can have laws that everyone understands and can read. But right, you can take it for what it is. And so you're writing revisionist history for a lot of things. It seems like, yeah. Pagan is not Christian. Western civilization was also arguably built on a religious war. It was solving for Christianity, right? Christians in the 17th century killed 5% of the world's population. And at the end of it, you got the structure that we have today, which is maybe just the structure that was going to exist anyways. It wasn't this new topic. It wasn't this discovery. It wasn't this great innovation. But it was at some point you had so much violence, people had to shift and adapt. And many would say, well, yeah, if you actually look at the Westphalian state, there was nothing new. I mean, you could, if you were a lord or a king, you would know that you couldn't invade sovereignty and get away with it, right? You would know that you would need to have, at the time, you would have these structures outside of your own ontology as a lord or a kingdom, maybe with your own fiat currency, things like this. You would need to have like the Catholic Church settling disputes, or you'd want some other way to sort of settle, and geopolitical pressure could be handled through like if you're a king or a lord passing things on. So I mean, it's a distracting level. It is a distracting level, not for me, for everyone here, I think, a distracting level of being poorly educated. Yeah, I'm going to give you a timeout, BOD. If you want to stick around, I'm just going to give you a 5-minute timeout because of how bad that last comment was. Not in terms of your opinion, just the quality of it. The quality of these comments are very low. So I'm going to give you a timeout. It's not helping anyone. What do you think of payment processors censoring artists and creators out of financial stability? By letting AI... yeah, I mean, I think it's weird. I think it's sort of weird, but I don't personally believe in laissez-faire liberalism. It's important, and I would want time and context to think about it. A common example, it's not just payment, whatever. If you make you make nudie pics or something like this, you're on OF or Fansly. It's also the case that like people that sold dope in Colorado, right? You could sell a little bud or something. And yeah, maybe you're within your rights. You're not going to go to jail for it, but you could have your bank account closed. Maybe you're unbanked, right? You would have to work around that because you can't be a business and be unbanked. And so, who knows? If you ask me as a political person, I'd say, well, what did you do, right? The truth is you didn't want weed legal to keep people out of jail. You personally, as a business, right? You ultimately wanted to sell stronger forms of these substances all around the country. You wanted to brand them. You wanted to do all of the stuff that was new. And so as a voter, it's like I have a ton of empathy for people that actually are compassionate and good people, but also like I am not the person that you're going to lie to and say that, well, these were Mother Teresa's, these were upstanding, hyper-moral, Peter Singer type moral philosophers that were starting to sell distribution centers, right? And so there's a clear difference. I think when people see that you can go sell digital assets online, and I don't know specifically anything that you're talking about, Toku, but yeah, I see a big difference. It's not that much of an issue. I think the biggest threat right now in the US, in the United States, is there's free speech laws, right? There's a regulation of, Uncle Sam makes you either access a VPN to go watch, if you want to watch adult films in certain states, including my state of Arizona, you'd have to download a VPN, and or you'd have to verify your identity. And people don't want to do that, right? People don't want to do that. It's very much like a US political issue, but why don't you care about that? Right? Why don't you care that the government is telling you what app you have to use to go do the thing you're going to do? And if you were like that person, you couldn't sell your products in another state. And these are products that are sustainable, they're reusable, multiple use. Like it's like these, as an economic product, there's no reason the government should be limiting your rights and freedoms. Instant mash. Dazzle us with your intellectual might. Instant mash. You seem like a very hateful person, May. You seem like a very hateful, angry, spiteful person who won't admit it. That's the reality. You know what? So you can take a day out if you want to come back and talk about politics. But yeah, I mean, it's not my problem that you choose your time to do what instead of going on Wikipedia and researching current issues. No one else's problem, right? Quite frankly. Why are you still here then, right? I mean, I just don't get it. Go tune up your algorithm. Go delete your Roblox subscriptions and put on something that's enriches your brain, that makes you stop and ask where something is, what something is about. I think $9 billion is definitely a problem. I don't know what that is. Yeah, the Nazis were fascists, right? The Nazis centrally designed entire towns and cities for war. That is like the definition of being far right. And so I've got no clue what you're talking about. That seems like it is a completely unevidenced, and I would ask how you would explain that to your own kid, right? So if you were to actually put the pedal to the grindstone, explain to your kid how the Nazis were not far right and all of the conclusions, right? Don't leave any of it out. Get really fine-grained. Explain to your kid what you just said, your own family, and say, hey, there's your life now, right? Your world, your life is now this world where the Nazis were just like modern day socialist leftists. They were that stupid and that's who they were. Go do that. Have fun. Because the reality is that Germany under the Third Reich were far-right nationalists, far-right fascist nationalists, right? So all that existed was the state. You would look out and you would say, well, the Nordics, those could be the Third Reich. You would look to your left, you'd look over to France and the Danes, and you'd say, hey, some of you guys would be good in the Third Reich, right? That isn't democratic socialism. That's not socialism. Fascism was Mussolini. Fascism was totally uneducated once again, totally uneducated, right? So if you look at the period of democratization that followed after the Treaty of Westphalia across Western Europe, so you're talking about 200, 300 years, then you follow toward about the end of World War I, you follow the last remnants of sort of aristocratic and oligarchic empires. And then, right, it's at that point in time that fascism as an ideology is introduced. So I'm going to ban you next time you say something inaccurate. Mussolini, yeah, next time you say something inaccurate. Yeah, there you go. You didn't make it very long. So if you want to come back in a day, but I'm not going to have you spreading misinformation in the chat. It's that easy. So, all right, guys. So Trump is the right man for the job. Let me check on the poll, guys. So 27% of people who voted said Trump is a dunce. 16% said Trump is a violent criminal. 6% gave the correct answer, which is just this. And then 51% said both 1 and 2. So Trump is a dunce and a violent criminal. And so when I say dunce, I mean Donald Trump struggles to manage both small and large aspects of his own life. And it appears that if he doesn't have economic incentives for himself, nothing gets accomplished, right? Donald Trump can only think around his own monetary wealth, and he can also only think about his power relationships that he has with other people, such as E. Jean Carroll, right? The guy's he's been accused many times of sexually assaulting women, and many would say he's a poor capitalist. He's a selfish person, and he's good at pursuing his own wealth. In the United States, you're generally allowed to do that, but you're generally not allowed to go to islands where people have underage female sex slaves, right? Women and underage female sex slaves. So. All right. Yeah, you're out for good. Yep, that's correct. You don't know anything about my channel. If you have 1,800 subscribers on your channel, and yeah, that's fine. So Mustache Man from Austria is easily the most lied about person in history. Cool. Yeah, Hitler was arrested for a coup d'état. Hitler was arrested for an attempt, not even a coup d'état because he wasn't in the military, right? But he had attempted first to seize power, and so he spent time in jail. So that is again a far right tactic, right? It's not a revolutionary tactic. I don't believe anyone thought of Hitler as a social revolutionary. To say that's the case would be it would be incredibly wrong. What kind of social revolutionary bases their ideology in not just foreign hatred, but hatred of people that live within the state itself? So that's ethnic nationalism. That's far right, right? There's nothing socialist about saying whatever it is that you're saying, right? And then Hitler executed. What was the number? He executed 84 of his own generals. That doesn't sound like democratic socialism. Hitler killed 84 generals over the course of World War II. So not that interesting of a conversation, guys, right? Why would I want to argue? People that know nothing about politics want to argue about Nazism for some reason. Y'all hate Trump because he's not soft nor naive. Yeah, I gave this analogy, so I'd love for you to respond to it, Nine the Lord. Is that if you we look at these systems of government and how it's supposed to work, we can look at what's possible in the world too, what's possible in democracy, why those things are that way. And so if you go to a churro stand at Disneyland, you go to a churro stand and you ask for a sous vide steak, a sous vide steak with a side of asparagus and a baked potato, they'll say we can't do that. If you ask your go-kart to go for a loop-de-loop, it's just never going to do that. So yes. So I don't know who Destiny is. So yeah, I have no interest in Destiny. And yeah, so you don't want to have an actual conversation. You want to have a point. You want to say, well, this is just what's going on in my world. That doesn't make any sense. It's not about being smarter. It is a little bit of the case about actually asking where things are. If you just look at something and say, what's the, is this a context or world dependent judgment? And so what world is this like? What world is this like if we're governed by a constitution that delegates Republican style powers to the federal government? So you have representation, you have things that go some far. There should be nothing about the fact that Trump's fired most of the women in his cabinet, that, none of that is irrelevant also in the world. So very strange stuff. Yeah. A long history of, instead of adopting a conservative position and just saying, well, I can come up with a small list of reasons why the government, why do, right? This is being a grown adult with an integrated brain. Is I would say, well, when I see someone like Ron Paul, hey, thanks so much for the press F. When I see someone like Ron Paul back in the day didn't want Uncle Sam involved, or someone from my home state of Arizona, like John McCain didn't want to do something in the US context, I could say, hey, well, wasn't why these crazy Republicans want to do that. It's like, what are the arguments or reasons a person who's conservative doesn't want to fund something, right? What is the justification for not needing funding? What is that worldview like? What is their specific policy opinion, or what would they focus on from a legislative perspective, right? You get fights that way, and you also get disagreements that you can understand. Hey, thanks so much for the press Fs. Thanks so much for the press Fs. And then the other side of this is like, so you can also then therefore ask what Democrats might see as funding priorities, or how you're looking at just how you feel. It's okay to say how you feel about Trump or how you feel about the Trump administration without having a point to it. So all these accusations, and so now you're just making stuff up, right? You're making stuff up. You're just making stuff up, or you're tilling your fields or something like this. I have no idea. I've got no clue. I feel so sorry for the internet. In 2026, we all collectively apologize. This is all very, very sad. Very sad. right? And it's because maybe it's because you don't actually want to talk about politics. Maybe it's because you're not actually interested in politics. You have feelings about things that don't have that much to do with democracy, don't have that much to do with your voice being represented, you seeing your values in society. You can probably go find your values. They're at a church, right? Your values are at a church. Your values are at a two-way store, right? Your values are at a basic training, right? You can go enlist always. So you can always go do all of these things. But saying that this somehow changes what the world is like out beyond your view of it, your horse blinders, doesn't change anything, right? So I would say why can't we, right? Why can't we talk about environmental values, environmental conservation, stewardship of natural resources, the things we pull from the ground and that are above the earth, ocean health? These are topics that are political as well. These are topics that are political as well. I don't know what it means to say a pharmacist in my stream. Yeah, cool. Pharmacology or something. Sick. Every day there's a new MAGA that has been convicted as a we can collectively take responsibility as a society, right? We can say there's individuals accountable for the January 6th attacks in Washington. And the fact that we've seen in hindsight that many in the January 6th who took part in that event did want an insurrection and were violent criminals, right? Some of them we had violent criminals. Not everyone were these political reactionaries, political revolutionaries. There were just some people who were criminal and then got drawn into the Discord or Telegram space where you're suddenly talking about being a far-right militia and being a safeguard of whose liberty? I don't know, just whatever they were talking about. But you want to go commit a crime? Okay. Right. And so you have insurrectionists. You do have people who are violent reactionaries in Jan 6th. And then you also have criminals, right? And this is, right, you give the guys a pardon. What do? They go out and reoffend, right? So we as a society, in my opinion, we don't have to be collectivists. But if I just say, hey, I know where the Pacific Ocean starts. And once you get done with all the people out on their surfboards in California, you get done with the fishing boats, and then you go to the Atlantic, right? And nobody's running illegal riverboat casinos after a certain point, right? You don't have, there's no spring break parties anymore, right? You're done with the United States. And so between those two spots, what happens? We do have responsibility for people that get drawn into political extremist beliefs. But you guys can already see why I'm up here, why I have a channel, right? What are we talking about? What are we even talking about? There's people that come in and want to prove that modern day leftists are like Nazis. What world are you? Where in the United States is this? What are you talking about, right? What are you talking about? Are you talking about the internet? Are you talking about things you've seen on the internet? Are you talking about 350 million people? Go fight with a leftist then, right? Go fight. There's people who have leftists in their channel title. There's people that have leftists on their subreddits. I'm not a leftist, so I don't know why you're saddling me with that delusional opinion about the world. That is a delusional, it's mentally ill. It is the same exact pattern as Charlie Kirk stopping debates to tell people that he would mark a PDF. Right, that is a delusional. If you were getting coffee, if you were on a date with a beautiful man or a beautiful woman, right? You guys know I only date 8s, 9s, and 10s. I only date 9s and 10s, and so you go out on this date with a 9 or a 10, right? Red pill manosphere stuff. I'm just kidding, but like you go out on a date and she stops the date and says, "Yeah, you're talking about work history, you're talking about career, you're talking about." What she did on, she planned a vacation with a couple of her besties last year or something like this. And she stops that date and says, I would, no offense, we'll come back to that, but I would mark a PDF, right? You would say this woman is absolutely crazy. You should say, well, this woman is absolutely batshit insane. And you should never go out with her again. And so I don't see how you guys don't see that that's what a lot of this is like. You believe it's okay to weaponize the federal government against fellow citizens. Hey, Tom Cornell, good to see you. Hey, hamster time. So Dementia Donnie sent in his FBI to start insurrection and his Capitol Police arrested them. Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump more or less morally condoned the January 6th attacks. I don't think it makes sense to pry into if Donald Trump intention. I wouldn't know why I would even touch the issue of if Donald Trump intentionally signaled to leaders of this debate. But yeah, we would say it makes sense that Donald Trump was aware. He saw Heather Heyer get murdered in Charlottesville. He saw a white supremacist run over a crowd of people and kill one woman, injuring many more. In Charlottesville, he saw them chanting, "Jews will not replace us," marching around with torches. And he knew that January 6th was these same people. So Donald Trump knew enough. I don't know that I would say he sent people in, that he was signaling or talking to them. But he did know that this was a violent insurrection. These were people that would not just go protest, but protest for white supremacy. They would support conspiracy theories, and they would do so with firearms. And so any reasonable person would see that and say, well, why are you going to the Capitol? Like, in the first place, you're allowed to, but why? Why are you going there? And what happens when you go there? And then they go there, and what happens? You illegally take over a federal building, you assault multiple federal police officers, and you had been talking about an insurrection, about a stolen election. So one would presume that you got cold feet or you made a judgment call once you got there. But the point of that was an insurrection for at least some people, right? There was not zero brain neurons. This is a fact in reality. There either were or were not neurons in your head that were operating on the presumption that there was a stolen election, you were defending liberty, and you were changing, coercing violently the political process, right? That is a lifetime sentence. If Charlie Kirk knew that, he also deserved a lifetime sentence in prison, right? There's not ambiguity about that. So, and you guys are this is another into the grindstone. You guys are gonna wake up and tell your kids, hey, if you say Jew psyop one more time, you're gonna be banned off the channel forever. I'm gonna give you a 24-hour time out right now. No offense, but yeah, I'm not building a channel that is Jew free or whatever you wanted me to say. So when I see that stuff, you guys will at least get a 24-hour timeout, and next time you're gonna get banned. So that's very simple for me. And so, but what were we talking about? Were we talking about racism? We were talking about just extreme levels of racism because it's the internet, and that's okay now. That's insane to me. That's wild. Yeah. And so pedal meets the grindstone. We're talking about whether or not the people at January 6th were insurrectionists. So you are going to tell your kids that there are people that can just see it as it's a grayscale. It's not black and white. Even though what they actually go do is going to be an insurrection, right? It's going to be assaulting people that are there doing their job, have to obey the law, and are making sure others can administer and uphold that same law, as well as protecting that space for other people who have their legal rights to be where they are. And you're going to tell your kids that these people that have brain cells, brain states, and opinions and views, that they can disrupt that process using firearms and physical violence, and they can organize themselves to use firearms and physical violence to go do that. You're telling me that, well, this is just, it's up for discussion because the internet, it's up for debate. Cool. Go tell your kids that that's how an integrated brain works. Yeah, right into the grindstone, the millstone, right? Keep your family away from mine. 0% chance I want that anywhere in my society because you're having fun on the internet or because, you ate a bad chicken cutlet. Neither of those is my concern. That is an insane way to live your life and to decide things. Charlottesville was a setup like January 6th. Yeah, Charlottesville was a well-planned, coordinated event. It was meant to include these nationalist-style militias, these people that appealed to heritage, maybe themselves didn't really hold deeply white nationalist beliefs, but it was set up to be dominant towards a white nationalist sort of culture and outlay, right? The whole point was to take people that had been holding on to these ideas and put them in this city all for one day, right? And yeah, you guys saw what you get. I don't know what was, again, the people, whatever was going through their heads when they were saying, we're going to take people with guns, we're going to invite overweight, underdeveloped internet losers to come to this event, right? We're going to invite, and we're going to just see what happens at the end of the day. Doesn't make sense, guys. right? These, in a political sense, from a political standpoint, it's you should have projected that when you saw that these were people that were participating in racist, hate-filled rants on 4chan, on Reddit. It doesn't make any sense to me. BLM burnt down businesses, buildings, and towns as they. Very strange. It's a very strange perspective when what's the reality in a democracy is that you have Minnesotans wanting ICE out of their city, and then for Black Lives Matter, I haven't seen it, right? I haven't seen 6 weeks of I haven't seen weeks and months of protests where those protesters are getting gunned down in the street. I haven't seen weeks and months of protests against Black Lives Matter like I have against the MAGA right? So against actual, again, budgets from the federal government that are coming into your cities and dictating how you have to live your lives. So so you're saying you're not going to defend January 6th, but then you're going to move down to Black Lives Matter. It doesn't make sense to me. Racism has been revived after 45 years of rap artists and Obama by Democrats. Dan, you're not needed here right now. So if you want to come back, again, this isn't going to be, right? You alluded to racism against Black people. So I'm not building a no Black channel. So you can come back in the day. We do evidence-based politics, sometimes religion and philosophy. Because of the internet, next time I see it, you're going to be off the channel forever. So, and you can come back on your alts and I'll ban those too. So, yeah. And to say, again, that's what you're going to teach your kids. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. You would teach your kids, your cousins, your close friends, you would go share that other places because you're not on an internet chat room. I don't understand that. Yeah, Mississippi Dan's gone. Is this radical? So I just want to live our lives like it has been for, yeah, conservative values. So conservative values, in my, like, a simple way to describe it, conservative values say that, well, we should be able to reason about the world and apply those anywhere where we can. So when you have any policy, when you have any taxation, when you have, these are all things that push to a greater degree against what it means to live our lives. So for example, saying that if you're 18 years, so for example, saying you have to tell random people on the internet your age and provide identification to watch adult films, that's a form of regulation conservatives should oppose. And then on the other side of it, you have typically progressive or sort of Keynesian perspectives, not all the way to democratic socialism, says that, well, society actually contains the seeds of its own demise. And look at how it's been for hundreds of years. You have violent labor disputes. You have people who live in squalor while others get rich and squander their money. And so when you just say, hey, all we're going to do is provide this little cushion at the bottom, it's not for everyone. And guess what? There's still going to be injustice. We're not talking about justice, but we're just going to provide this little cushion in a society. And we're solving for the fact that you can take someone's last penny. And so you can say, well, which side of this issue do you fall on? Are you conservative? If you were the person, if you didn't even know who you were, do you trust people to actually think about their impacts? Do you trust leaders in government to think about their impacts? And it turns out that outside of MAGA Donald Trump, why people are so angry is that there isn't that much disagreement here. We can fight endlessly for days. We will not give an inch, not take an inch. We can talk about other values that we should be talking about, other priorities that we would hope people like you think about, things like environmentalism, conservation of values, stewardship of resources. You don't get out of those things. You don't get out of being a good person just because you have any system of government that works. But what does Donald Trump say, right? This is what violent nationalism is you can say, well, I can use and exploit women. I can tell men that they're going to be the head of their household. They're going to get sous vide steaks and HJs and BJs every day. And this is, and then they're going to get a little stripes on their armband for being a good MAGA Republican man, right? Good Christian American man. A good Christian American man, all you got to do is show up on the poll day, and there you go. So this isn't talking about anything recognizable in my sense of what the United States is. It's basically pulling from these far right nationalist ideas and saying, well, this is useful for Donald Trump and whatever he's trying to do. Very based. That's fine to me, but January 6th was not as bad as So to me, right, John Doe, what you're saying is you're saying to me, and then you're acting like your version, your description, your normative, right? You're having a normative direction in the world. But the whole point of that is to you, right? You're not offering any evidence. You're not offering any evidence, nothing to support your belief, and you're treating it like it's a fact. So, John, to you, right? And so next time I see one of those long messages, I'm going to delete this one, but be a little better, right? If you're going to say something, I'm not telling you to support it. I'm not telling you, but check your normative direction, right? This is not to me, that is to you, right? So take it, reel back in whatever you just said. That is your view and your opinion. That is no one else's view and opinion. Hey, really nice guy, Paul. Really nice guy. Yeah, thank you. Welcome to politics. Adios, buddy. Hey, great job. Yeah, good one, dude. Once again, we the Greenlanders and the Danish being, yeah, you're part of the internet too. Isn't that funny? Demonize President Trump for losing his own money. Already dead on the inside. No soul. I don't know what that means. No Soul is a good song, right? That's a song by Say Anything. Like you've got no soul at all. Rochelle, I have no idea what you're talking about. When somebody needs to be wired to do their feed, homeboys all over the place. JFK is returning in November, and I think the group here would want to know. I have no idea what you're talking about. That sounds like a conspiracy theory that has no bearing or resemblance to any reality around us. Aren't you so tough for deleting someone's comments on? Hey, thanks for the help on the channel. There you go. Thanks for the enormous help on the channel. Appreciate it. Hey, what's going on, YouTuber? Great to see you. Great to see you guys. Yeah, release the Epstein files. Reality, describe yours. That's a sufficiently vague statement or question or declarative, right? You're declaring something. If anybody wants to send super chats, YouTube gifts, those types of things, those help. Support your favorite streamers, guys. I'm nearing the end of my month, so I have all of my next month's expenses coming from this month. So appreciate any support, and so do your other favorite YouTubers, and as well as charities, right? If you want to go donate to the Humane Society, NGOs, other charities solving for poverty, these problems, right? If we're talking about context-dependent judgments about smaller things, not all, it doesn't have to be all, right? Why did we get rid of conservatives and progressives in the United States? Why couldn't we just focus on the real priorities, the things that actually cause problems? But yeah, that's why, if you don't want to support me and my channel, I support you. I'd be very excited to hear that you guys are going out donating to the Humane Society, animal rescue farms, right? Animal rescue farms are a direct way that animals rescued from being livestock for being raised for food, oftentimes in horrendous living conditions, sometimes needing medical care and attention, can go live on a farm for the rest of their lives, right? There's also charities that support people affected in life-saving ways, affected by climate change, affected by geopolitical competition, whether that be from liberalism or other forms of ideological competition that has nothing to do with them. So you can always go donate money. Again, rescue farms, I think, are great. Care.org is great. You can go look up your favorite region of the world, learn something new, send $5, send $25, put $12 a month on repeat. And if you guys can afford it, I've been there, if you guys, whatever, you guys work in tech, you guys work in oil and gas, one of these industries, you guys are doing all right. If you guys want to sign up for a membership here, offer a couple, now or over the next 12 months, offer even small $5 super chats here. That helps me enormously too. But yeah, for some people, it's life-saving. For me, I'm not living next to a bridge. So Ducks, for real, how many kids do you have in your basement? Wow. Charities don't work. Wow. If you guys want to see how delusion, because of the internet, because of the world, because you don't see your values in society, so you're punched down. This is what weak men do. This is what weak human beings do. It's not about being a weak man. It's about being a weak person. Literally punching down at charities. This is wild. Punching down at charities for what reason? It's absolutely insane. When people identify, Azerland, I think, offers a great point. It is confusing. So this is so effing confusing. Yeah, when people identify as left and right, when your identity is so much so that you think it's okay, to spread ahistorical narratives, or you think it's okay to hate anyone, right? I've seen a lot more far-right hate messages in today's stream, people defending Nazis, people yelling, screaming JEW in my chat. I've seen anti-Islamic, Islamophobic, again, towards real people in the world, and people who somehow believe that an insurrection wasn't an insurrection. I mean, it is absolutely insane. And so when you say, well, it's not just that you're identifying as left, right, but you're actually punching at people who like what they wanted to do was save a fat pig from the slaughterhouse. You're punching at people who literally said, well, maybe we can build a school or provide a bag of grain to people. Like there's 2 degrees here. There's a degree of having a personal opinion, and then there's the other side of it. Since when did we get rid of conservatives? Yeah, great question, user. Getting rid of where have the conservative voices been, right? Why is it the case that it seems the dominant narrative from MAGA GOP is about supporting MAGA, right? Why isn't, in the GOP, is the traditional GOP's losing steam, right? I would suggest you guys do not vote for any MAGA candidates. It looks really bad, but people who just say, yeah, I don't want government spending, I'm not going to, if it so happens that a social conservative comes up, that's fine, but we're not going to be pushing Roe versus Wade. We're not going to be pushing religious theocratic nationalism. Wow. Cool. Thank you. Did you ever get tired trying to blame everyone else of your own actions? The left has gone, so this is from Cheese Crust. This is Cheese Crust 13's conversation. So don't waste this, right? Let's be efficient. Don't waste this conversation. The left have gone so far, they no longer recognize their own party. Obama would be considered far right according to today's left. Yeah. You'd have to clarify some of this to me. Gavin Newsom went and did, his last big press conference was on the California budget, and it seemed very much in line with what California has been doing. If you've been watching, Pete Buttigieg is another we would say he's high ranking. He's someone that could easily, without doing much, earn a meeting with a lot of people in the Democratic Party. Pete Buttigieg, he served on Biden's administration. And so we've got Zohran Mamdani in New York City. So my question to you is, what would you say to evidence this, right? You're making a bold claim that Obama would be seen as far right, meaning appealing to historical traditional values, concentrating power in the federal government for things like values. So I don't understand how exactly that's the case. Let's look at Obama's policy when running for president: building a wall, creating a department to control government spending, deporting illegals, and keeping marriage between a man and woman. Right. So you believe that it was, so if I'm getting this correctly, gays for Trump. So yeah, if I'm getting this correctly, you're saying the point is that there's no world where you can be wrong. First of all, you can just change your mind, but you'll never say you're wrong. So let's just clarify that first. And then second, once we've clarified that you have not once admitted that you're wrong in your life, if that's true, you've never admitted that you could be wrong. The second thing we can talk about is, that Obama did govern for expediency. You can make an excuse that he was managing wars. You can also make an excuse that he saw the electoral results. He saw even Bernie Sanders at this time having to double down on running as an independent. We can say that, did Obama run on that? Yes or no? Did Obama run on what is that on that? So we barely defined. I'm still in the process of defining what those things are in any reasonable sense. And you are, to me, right? I can't just say that, oh, well, Cheesy Crust said that Obama hated gay people. And so, because Cheesy Crust thinks Obama was a Nazi who hated gay people, so you're going to straw man the form of the conversation instead of just admitting you don't know what you're talking about and you're making something up right now. Instead of admitting that you're the smartest guy in the room sometimes, but not here, this is what you're going to do. You can research his policies, right? So you're being condescending. Again, you're assuming the guy whose name is Cheese Crust 13 is the smartest person in the chat room that Cheese Crust 13 is at here. And so that's either true or it's not. And like I said, I don't think you're ever going to admit that you're actually wrong. And so I'm going to go back and emphasize this question that you asked. Did Obama run on that? Yes or no? So this shows not only that you think of the worlds in thises and that's, right? Did Obama run on that or not? So did the policies, you didn't state any policies, right? You typed a list in a YouTube chat. And so, and the answer is yes. All right. I think we're done with this conversation. It's not because you won, because we played a dumb game. Maybe we both won stupid prizes, but you didn't list any policies. You listed an incoherent list of thises and that's. And like I mentioned before, I don't think you're capable of admitting that, you're not just doing a rhetorical argument and you have fun doing that. I think you're uneducated, right? I do think you're uneducated, so I'll end with an ad hominem. Yeah. Just because you ignore what Obama ran on didn't mean that he didn't. Cool. Yeah, we'll see you next time. Thank you. So what an interesting conversation. So what we learned here is that in a period of time when the priorities were the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War, right? You have the Taliban out of Afghanistan. You've got de-Baathification now into a period of extremely 3,000% increase in terrorism around the world because of George Bush's actions. You also have an emphasis and a focus on healthcare in the United States. It's one of the things people had asked Obama about. But all of a sudden, all of those things are gone, and you're talking about not even problems that Obama inherited. You could look at the systems and then actually define the relationship Obama had to those things. And so there's nothing to be gained from a conversation which is treating you like you are dumber than you are. It's talking down to you and talking down to me, right? And so I'm not going to, someone who believes that if they win, they punch down at me, then that's Cheese Crust. I believe that's actually what that person wanted, was to win and then punch down at someone, right? And so that there's zero leadership traits, there's zero leading by example, and there's zero ability to just say no, right? There's zero ability to just say no. It's emotional immaturity, and it's a lack of an integrated brain at the end of the day. So yeah, so we might just ban that person and more people like them, right? If you can't contextualize where you are in the internet and the world, we'll just ban you. We'll just ban you. So if we look at the poll question, Trump is a dunce. Yes, 23%. Trump is a violent criminal, 22%. Yes, 9% got the correct answer, right? So that means we got about 10 of you guys that are real smart, wicked smart. We'd say my boy's wicked smart, that say just this, right? Thank God. And then 46% say 1 and 2. Yeah. So what's Trump's actual relationship with women? What is Trump's actual relationship with women in leadership positions? Does he believe that the Constitution gives them the same powers that he has, right? In the same sense, the Constitution gives him certain powers and rights. Does it give women the same powers and rights? Is it just the way that Trump wants? Are they allowed to do different things? Does that exist on both sides of how people may see current topics and issues? Who knows? Greetings from the German nation from Germany. Yeah, shout out to you. I don't care. Somebody in a blocked comment is saying that Trump's followers aren't smart. My opinion is that I don't care if you're smart or not, right? I don't care if you are an arseler or not. If you punch down at people, you celebrate cruelty, you're mean, you want to dominate and exert dominance over people. It's not that I'm not the person to do it with, but I'm just going to reject that. I'm not going to say anything back to that at the end of the day. You have no idea what you're talking about. Must be a Trump supporter. Sounds like you're from Boston. I don't know who uses, but yeah, we don't do, I don't know if that is a translation problem, but I'm going to time up that message. Good to see you. Hello, hello. You'll be right back. You'll be right back. It's 10-second timeout. So I don't know if there's a translation issue with Google Translate, but yeah, this is not a Jew-free space. This is not an Islamophobia space. So I don't think women should be, and the fact, yeah, if you guys, that's one of the things that will get you and every single one of your alts hidden on the channel. I don't think women should be allowed to have opinions. Cool, Jason, you can get off the channel as well. If you want to come back in a day, not here. You're not going to figure something else out. You're just not going to be here. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Savage, you sound desperate to prove yourself. Yeah, a wise man knows themselves, and a wise man knows themselves so that they can shape themselves to their environment. And that is how, in traditional gender language, a man is there for people. A man is there for people, right? To me, that is what red pill is. Real red pill isn't talking about body count. Real red pill isn't talking about what you talk about when you talk about body count. Real red pill to me is saying, well, can the man be there? If you are a man and you agree to something, you agree to be in a committed monogamous relationship with a woman, and you give that the time and space to develop, and you have dependencies on each other, and there's no way around that, then that man is there for that woman. And so if that man, that type of motherfucker is there for the people he said he's going to be there for, and that's it. Mamdani isn't actually effective at anything, but the way he got rid of 12 billion deficit was pushing to 2037. And the taxes raised on companies will produce doing product margins. So you're saying, pretending I don't live in New York, and so I'm not actually, pretending I'm not actually fluid in New York politics. You're saying that Mamdani is using financial games. You disapprove, right? I'm guessing you're not a financial analyst. I'm just going to guess that, right? So I wouldn't take you to be an expert. If I'm wrong, you can correct me, and you can say, well, here's what people should look at. Here's why it's unprecedented, or it's on the edges of what happens or something, right? You would assuage me that I'm talking to an expert, and that you can add context as an expert, not just declare something as an expert and basically beat people up, right? Either, you know what, I'm going to ban you from the channel. I'm going to ban you from the channel next time you do that. If you come in and act like an expert and prescribe something without adding context, you're gone. You're gone next time. So I'm just going to delete everything you've said from chat because I don't know who you are. So everything you've said is deleted, and you'll be back in 10 seconds. Next time you do that, I'm going to ban you from the channel. Hey, really nice statement. Welcome to the internet, Dracula. Really nice. Thank you so much. Was the red pill? The red pill there's nothing good in the red pill, right? I mean, I don't mean to speak in hyperbole, but Myron Gaines and Sneeko were literally standing up for Chud the Builder, right? There's new jail footage of, there's jail call recordings. I don't know if it's real or if it's AI, but I saw jail call recordings of Chud hitting up Aiden Ross for money. And yeah, who knows? So you hear that Myron Gaines and Sneeko are now big Chud fans because he wanted to shoot black people on the internet, and he got pretty close to it, right? He got pretty close to getting to that next step. And so when you say what is good about taking the red pill, there's nothing informed. It's just prescribing things to other people. If Republicans are truly winning, then I wonder why they aren't able to celebrate anything they have done. The only complaint about Democrats who don't hold any branch of government. You're granting a lot, right? You're granting a lot to MAGA GOP, to the MAGA GOP. I again, my question would be that, yeah, if neoconservative interventionism, if exporting violence through military spend, right, not creating a stronger U.S. military, not using the example of liberal force production as an example to conduct peaceful diplomacy and to resolve longstanding issues, but actually intervening around the world, disrupting business, and in no way clarifying how this could be used to solve a problem, how the US's role in the world is actually being fulfilled here. Is it? Right? Interventionism is typically about the popular political values, a popular interpretation. Offensive realism is a very dumb idea. And so I think you're granting too much to say that Republicans are winning. What about Los Angeles? What about New York City? What about the fact that you still have Austin, Texas, right? You still have deep political engagement in Texas, a place that they should be the ones that are dancing on the countertops, right? Pouring alcohol down their arms, their legs, whatever it is. You only have one blue eye, one green. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my eyes and stuff. Do you guys like my blue eyes? Leave it to a male non-Trump supporter to have the sensitivity level of a female. Cool. Yeah, I mean, my suggestion to you would be go vegan, eat whole foods. If you want to get like me, if you're looking up to me and wondering, what I do to support my family and things like this, why don't you, cut the calories, get some, really hard workouts out in nature, push yourself really hard, get those twists underneath the surface, really nice and deep, buddy. Yeah. And then next time you use language like that on my channel, next time you punch at people, I'm going to ban you as well. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Did you ban that person, Sneaky? Cranky, do you want to ban them? Yeah, if you want to hide them from the channel, you can. For 600 seconds, whoa, hey, that's not right. So you're going to assault my character. You're going to say that I have to address something about myself that I'm not confused about. Yeah, so you're going to gaslight me, right? You don't like that I called out that you are prescribing beliefs as a non-expert when I said I'm not an expert. So there's the end of that conversation. Then you're going to gaslight me, and then you're going to try to get yourself back up to punch down at me, right? So you're going to try to get up higher than me so you can punch down again. So you punch down, you lied, and then you punch down at me again. So that's off the channel. Yeah, very simple. Come back with an alt. I'm going to ban that one too. Go do it someplace else. Yeah, you can go hang out with Cam Higbee now, right? Cam Higbee, he's got an open chat. He barely moderates his chat room. So have fun, right? Go enjoy. Yeah, Fabian Liberty. You can go hang out on Andrew Wilson's channel. You can do that all day, buddy. All day. You can go say, hey, got crack, right? Anytime on those channels they see a black person on screen, got crack. Cool. Yeah, have fun, right? You don't even need me. It's just a meme space. Enjoy that. We have the same eye color. How do I look like I'm doing? Do I look okay? I think I look okay. I think I look like I'm doing fine. Like I didn't need someone gaslighting me because I'm unaware of who I am as a person and what I'm doing later on today. So how about that? If that's not complicated, I don't need that. Prophet Muhammad is spreading right-wing information. Are they? Explain in detail how Iran is winning, and I'll fact check you. Play a stupid game, win a stupid prize. Yeah, play a stupid game, win a stupid prize. So it's curious what the engagements in the Middle East are about. I typed out a list yesterday for a friend of what I thought were takeaways in terms of the war in Gaza, the war in Israel, the war in Gaza and Palestine, the war in Lebanon and Israel, the wars happening in these places, seemingly bolstering a narrative that multipolarity is here to stay, seemingly bolstering that structural politics have to take over when you see these regional wars gain global attention for things that have nothing to do with a state's interests or a region's interests. And then also double downing and providing an example of what offensive realism and nationalism does. It produces violence, And so I think people that had seen Iran had set themselves up to ideally, who knows? One would have been optimistic that a stick in one hand and diplomacy in the other would say that, yeah, a theocratic government should not, you should not be some sort of like super BRICS member. You shouldn't be getting, new superconductor printing presses and local 3D printing manufacturing. Why, you're literally, you lock up women for being women. And so, but to say that, that extended then to an extended air campaign, killing of kids, assassination of people in the country, without any sort of democratic discussion is absolutely insane. All right, so you can just say, yeah, so you can say you don't like Iran, but what you're doing is you're minimizing that state actors are always state actors. Prophet Muhammad, yeah, 369. So, when you say that, well, the United States is a horrifying nation, what would you buy with 800, however much if you could spend $1 trillion on military shit, and it can range from being quantum level stealth technologies and signals interpreters, all the way up to buying a couple more David Goggins and stealth bombers. What exactly would you pay for with $1 billion? $1 billion or 100 billion or 100 billions, right? And then if you could do this alongside your friends all around the world, including your enemies like China, right? Including your adversaries, we're all in this together. What would you buy with then $2.7 trillion? So what I think you're doing, Mohammed, is minimizing the role of state actors, and you're minimizing the scope and just what exists in the world today in actual place names, right? This stuff doesn't exist on planet Epsilon. It is not something that a warfighter controls, because what is a warfighter? A warfighter isn't a real thing. It's stupid shit that Pete Hegseth said, right? It's not television. It's not the surface level thing. It's the real thing, right? It's the real thing. Why do you ban anyone who disagrees with you? Honest question. I don't care to answer your question. So if you want to come back in 24 hours and talk about evidence-based politics, I don't need your approval. I don't need to tell you I don't need your approval, and I don't need to tell you, but I will tell you I don't need that question. I don't need help with the channel. I added 600 subscribers last month. I cut streams off early. You guys can go watch my shorts. I know how to edit videos. I know how to present information. I'm educated. I have a degree in political science. I've studied this stuff outside of college. And so if you guys have a criticism about the channel, like I said, go hang out on Nick Shirley's channel. Go hang out with Cam Higby. You want to yell, "Got crack" at black people, you can go do that. If you want to use the Jews language and be a non-normie, go do that, right? I don't need people on my channel helping me with the channel. If I did, I would mod you. Did I mod you? No, I didn't mod you. And so while there's other people chatting about the content, while there's other people chatting about what we're talking about who want to talk about conservative, evidence-based, inference-based political beliefs about deeply rooted philosophical traditions and how that's impacted your worldview, you're allowed to do that. In all other cases, if I didn't mod you and I didn't ask for your feedback, I don't need your help. The channel is fine. And you're seeing people chatting and you're disrupting chat to make it about some personal vendetta you have against people who are not like you. I don't care. Does that clarify it? Yeah, 28 likes, 0 super chats. I don't care. Do you guys have 1 million views? Do you guys have 1 million views? If you guys don't have 1 million views, I still don't care, because I don't care that you guys got 1 million views posting pictures of a slice of pizza. Right? I have zero concern for your opinion about what social media is and how you were just hanging out. We're just having fun with the boys, casual racism, casual posturing for war, casual punching down at people. Sick, bro. I'm a grown-ass 36-year-old man. So cool. Any other questions? Any other comments? Wow. Doesn't seem like there were. That's amazing. How incredible. Look, and to that person, thank you guys for supporting, who are supporting me, who want to be here. It seems like there were at least, and I'll keep talking, it seems there were at least 10 people, 12 people, 13 people, 14 people who wanted me to stay on this. And the people that got bored because they don't want drama, but they were here for it, you interrupted them too, right? So that's why you're off the channel. Hey, Jacob, great to see you. This is an evidence-based politics, philosophy, religion, culture type channel. And so, yeah. You're in your car, there's an old guy on one side and your ex on the other. What? You're talking about hitting people with a car? Yeah, hey Roy, I hope you feel supported. If I can offer any words of encouragement, let me know. But yeah, absolutely. I don't think when we see people who feel they haven't lived with dignity, whether it's you or other people that you know or encounter, or you find people that are true advocates for you, I think those are all stories that can help inform our political beliefs, whether that's about, well, geez, there's no reason Uncle Sam needs to go do this for people, right? Even on the other side from what I believe, or we say, geez, Uncle Sam, when you spend taxpayers, people do show compassion. They do treat others with dignity. They do care about the law of access, right? They do care that people have access and that is enforced. And yeah, so I hope you feel supported. That's all I'd say to that. Trump is what he is, and the president right now. And yeah. So saying Trump is what he is and that someone, I mean, I have no clue, right? I don't know what that sounds like. You're asking me if I have your worldview, and I clearly don't totally feel that way, right? I think we should keep pushing for accountability. We should not act like it's not a process. You're minimizing, right? Because for whatever reason, because you're not interested in US politics or something, when we talk about how nationalism itself, follows a political process, which is like the one in democracies we're familiar with. We're familiar with these processes in democracy. So we're also seeing that far-right politicians like Donald Trump and like those in Europe are also pushing along on the same route. Who's the best president that America has ever had? I don't know. According to Henry David Thoreau, the government which governs least is best, and in a utopian society, it's the government which governs not at all. So Barack Obama, I don't know. Who knows? Hey, Pandulux, JFK. Trump does what Israel said. It's just a fact. Iran hates the USA. Can we get off this topic now? We're not learning anything. I think you're putting these facts out there that have no context. And so, yeah, Mohammed, next time I see something like that come up, if there's not something else that we can discuss, I'm gonna ban you from the chat, right? If you are ESL, if anyone in chat is ESL, you guys can, I'm trying to get through more of these comments now that we only have 10 people here too. So we are allowed to, cool. Yeah, come back tomorrow, man. It was nice having you. I think you were respectful. You listened to people. But yeah, just chanting the same things about your opinion on Iran. I don't think we all need to read that and just keep going into it. What do you get out of that? It's not anything. Can you tell me the exact topic? Well, the topic was what you said it was, right? You said something about Donald Trump. I said something about nationalism, political processes, democracies. So you said that is what the topic was, but we're an evidence-based politics channel. So now the topic is that you're new here and I'm stopping the stream to tell you what the topic is. You see how that works? Yeah, you guys are content creators in chat. I'm the content creator on camera. So thank you for blocking that turd. Can you please not call people turds? Thank you. Appreciate it. FDR. Yeah, FDR was leading in a very critical period of history. A lot of people forgot that after the Great Depression, there were high political tensions domestically. And that at the time, right, this is not the era of social media where people are sharing tips and tactics on how to get by, developing informal buy-sell trade barter, right? You're taking the economic modality of credits and debts and somehow finding a way to make it work in a liberal economy for the time period. And so FDR, at that time, who knows, one would probably debate that, through World War II and into the period of the 1950s, where prior ideas like communism and socialism were very unpopular, but you also have the seeds building these movements. There's a reason why these are picked up very easily by small segments of the civil rights movement, these adjacent categories of Black nationalism, and adjacent liberation ideologies and theologies, right? So you do, the demonization of Catholics. There were socialist and communist Catholics who said, well, this isn't dignity, right? What is this world where you make someone, in the best case, you work for 80 years. If you're a husband, you may be either controlling or abusing this woman that God's ordained to be your wife. And then so you get sick, you're unhappy, she's unhappy. And this is the best case scenario. In the worst case scenario, you stand in the bread lines when the bread line is open. And other than that, you're hopping on the train tracks, right? Very strange. You're hitching a train. You're an actual hobo with the hobo stick. And so so people that talk about heritage and stuff like this, I would still say, well, you have to explain how the economic modality of today supports deep democratic socialist thinking, deep collectivist thinking, right? Is this actually about individual dignity? And in this case, what does it mean, right? Just saying that, hey, I haven't spent time here and that's not what I work on. That's not what I think about as, if I tell you I do armchair philosophy, right? Armchair activism. You're the guy that's out there. What's that conversation like? But yeah, these are not brand new ideas. Hey, good day. Can you not tell people their jokes? Thank you, guys. I love how you criticize objectively bad decisions by Trump. His snowflake go TDS, not a cult though, right? I don't know what you're talking about. That sounds like it's something that is existing in your brain. Plopping sloppies. It sounds like it's also meant to either dehumanize or position someone in a hierarchy. I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong that that's not what that is meant for, plopping sloppies. Okay, it was a Roman who used Fabian strategy. You all need help. You can't handle being challenged, so you time people out. Being challenged, trying to be dominant to people who didn't ask you to do that is not. Yeah. So I'm gonna delete that comment too. That's not helping. Just so you can see that. Look at the. Yeah. If I delete your comments, guys, you guys can see the chat's still fine without those. Those aren't helping anyone. Good day. You're sick and get out of the MAGA cult, you effing arsler. Hey, cool it, guys. Cool off. Adderall plus CNN. Yeah. So Paul's a pharmacologist now. Hey, so Paul, if you want to come back and join us and talk with people that actually care about you, aren't condescending, or sometimes it is that way, actually for quite a good portion of the stream, it's that way. Feel free to come back in a day. Yeah, but I didn't see you put your pharmacology credentials down, and so you want to go tell your family about your knowledge about Adderall. Have fun, Paul. Yeah, go do that. Enjoy. Yeah, we're not gonna have. Hey, what's going on, Leanne Cooper? Good to see you. Am I homeless? It doesn't look like it. I'm in a home, right? I'm not borrowing the space I'm in. So I'm not sure why you're asking that either, Skipper. Yeah, that's not what we talk about here. If you want to talk about homelessness from a political, philosophical, religious standpoint, or if you were to say something else, yeah, but I don't know what you want to talk about. So yeah, feel free, of course. Feel free. I don't know. Yeah, Jesus loves you. Thanks, Anabi. Yeah, thanks. Is there still ICE raids happening? Yeah, ICE is still operating. ICE still has. If you look at how ICE actually works, right? You still have. It's isn't it more like a military structure than anything else? And you still have marching orders not taken from court orders, but you have marching orders taken from technology. Isn't it Palantir? Right. So you guys are using graph-based technologies. You're building entity relationships all by your lonesome, and then you're sending out ICE to go do this thing that doesn't really sit in the Constitution in the first place, right? So yeah, abolish ICE. Abolish ICE doesn't mean abolish immigration law. Abolish ICE doesn't mean that you're not going to stop. You're not going to go arrest people that skip out on court. It doesn't mean that you're going. And it mostly what it means is that those people that you arrest are, if you break the law, your ass is getting sent out, but you still get a lawyer, right? You get your lawyer, and then nobody can say that it didn't happen. Maybe that's a very cruel thing, but then yeah, go campaign for that. Go campaign for Ron Paul, Ron Jeremy. No one cares. Whoever it is, nobody cares. January 6th was orchestrated by Nancy Pelosi. Yeah, maybe. Nancy Pelosi had a cool career, right? I think she's a punching target because she's a she or something. Who knows, right? Yeah, she doesn't say words in the order that you like that she says the words, yet she's talking about the same world. And so, yeah, and I always found Nancy Pelosi quite coherent. And I found that the fact that she was willing to be out front about stuff and represent people, I felt that was it was brave, right? That is a brave way to be, and it's probably the only way she knew how to be. So she wouldn't have been in Congress if she wasn't that way. I honestly believe religious brainwashing on the far right leads to authoritarianism because they're taught to believe nonsense without question. Yeah, I was talking about this the other day. It's reported that between 45 and 47% of young men in the US are now reporting extremist Christian beliefs. Extremist Christian beliefs. Yeah. 45 to 47% of young men are reporting extremist Christian beliefs. I'd have to wonder where in the world that actually applies to. Yeah. So very crazy stuff, guys. Very crazy stuff. Ilan Omar is a scammer. Cool. Hey, I'm going to ban you next time you say something like that. Understand where the chat is going. Yeah. So Ron Mamdani is a terrorist. Cool. Hey, there you are, bud. You can go hang out. I'm guessing. Look, and I don't mean to be super rude, but I would imagine this makes me think of is there's a subset of 45-year-old men who are hanging out with Cam Higbee and hanging out with I'm just going to give you a 24-hour timeout if you want to come hang out and talk here. But I'm guessing there's a subset of 45-year-old men who are hanging out with teeny boppers, doing live streaming, doing IRL streams at protests, right? Again, these are people largely without college degrees, people largely without any formal education, people who don't understand what the world is like because they're young. And yeah, and you're taking your marching orders as a 45-year-old man from kids. Right? Very strange, Yeah. And then you probably also don't believe that Donald Trump is mentioned hundreds of times in writings that are about the girls on Epstein Island. And yeah, that all meant nothing, right? That all just meant nothing too. Let's see. What is the ban message? Democrats are all, oh, wow, real American. Yeah, that's really bad. That's really bad. Let's see. Let's see. I'm gonna just. I don't know why I have this goal up. Yeah. Just yeah. Your vice is like a cat. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, what's going on, Aaron? Good to see you. Are you sure Trump's stupid and not just malicious? Yeah, I do think. I think his inability to reel in information and data from around the country shows that he's incapable of understanding what the world is like. He's not being insistent. He's being uninformed and unintelligent, right? He's rejecting a hard problem because it's too hard, I think. In reality, yeah. What's the reality of it is, yeah, who knows? Maybe Donald Trump does have a genius IQ, but it doesn't seem like it, right? Where has that come in? You don't have to be a genius, but there is something of a meritocracy to the president of the United States. You would think that there is, and there has to be. So, yeah. Yeah. And we don't need to be cruel and nasty, right? To say Trump is a dunce, Trump in politics is a dunce. Trump, when he's advertised, he's told us to consider his business. Most people that I know who've been successful in business, in like the tech industry and things like this, would say, well, yeah, I've considered her business, and there it is, right there. All of it is, right? It's you, right? It's you doing marketing, and so you have a PR team. And yeah, you've put a lot of time and thought into how you're perceived in the media and what you're going to say then, right? And so you love people that love you, and you believe in people, but you believe in yourself more. And you only believe in those people that believed in you, right? And so, cool. It's a strategy or something, I like you. Cool. Thanks. Yeah. He's such a baby. He didn't even give an opinion about Trump doing a good job. Yeah, so you want to punch down at me as well, overseas madman. You want to elevate yourself so you can punch down at something or whatever it is. But yeah, let's talk about assessing Donald Trump as a realist or someone who's pushing neoconservative values in the international space, who's administering budgets and uses an extreme degree of interpretation, an extreme degree of liberalness or openness about the Constitution, and then we can assess if Trump's doing a good job. You come in and you throw a punch because, for a reason I don't know, divide and conquer, right? Yeah, you know what? I'm going to ban you from the chat too. Homeland Security push was a huge win. Nope. So you're not gonna do that here. You're choosing the topic. So if you want to come back in a day, the topic that you chose was that your opinions are better than others. Homeland Security was a win. Doesn't have anything to do with neoconservatism. It doesn't have anything to do with offensive realism, right? It doesn't. Literally doesn't have. You picked the one topic that has nothing to do with anything that I said. Somehow you found the one topic that had nothing to do with what I said. So you're gone for a day. If you want to come back, and you want to, again, just without any context, you want to throw things around, not slow down, listen at all, and also domineer the conversation, right? And so I hope you understand that. I hope you understand that, like, it's almost incredible. It was almost like an animal acrobatic trick, like watching a Belgian Malinois scale a wall, or, at the Yorkshire Dog Show, you see the cones. Literally, Homeland Security has nothing to do with neoconservatism. It's something that's a bipartisan issue. And it literally has nothing to do with offensive realism, right? Offensive realism is more about biasing structural politics, biasing exceptionalism and these conceptions of the state, and projecting power in regional or global contexts. So that again has nothing to do with Homeland Security. And so you wanted to decide the conversation. You said something. I responded to your statement. You didn't understand it. And so you would again attempted to dominate and say, well, you deserved to be a part of that conversation, when you demonstrated that you didn't understand very common terms. These are very common terms. John Mearsheimer was just on Andrew Napolitano's channel 3 days ago. They had a 30-minute conversation. So just a day ago, a Stanford professor named John Mearsheimer was on Judge Napolitano's channel. And so you don't understand the current context. You don't understand theory. You don't understand politics. You don't understand how to assess Trump's presidency. And you accuse me of not knowing how to assess Trump's presidency. So you're banned for a day. Not here. Not here. Sucks to be Democratic, no policy. Yeah, that's absolutely uninformed. And Eddie, I don't know what you want someone to say back to that. But yeah, boy, that's Eddie's statement, right? Eddie's conversation. Sucks to be Democratic, like democracy, like the Democratic Party in the US. Where, when, how, for what role, what job in government? Is it elected? Is it appointed, right? If you are appointed to a position for partisan reasons, what does that mean? Trump 2028. Yeah. Eddie, I think you wanted it. Yeah, whatever. And then, right. And so this is the opposite side is, oh, Tony Castro with the gift memberships. Hell yeah. Let's get the gift train going. Oh my God. And Cranky Mullet. Oh my God. That's a good one, right? Shout out. Thank you so much, Tony Castro. Cranky's a mod here. Cranky, thanks so much for being here. Happy Saturday, everybody. Appreciate the gift membership. And yeah, thank you so much. I've noticed nobody here can give anything bad about Trump that refers to policies. Brahman the Sleuth. That's a really funny name. That is a really funny name. Yeah, I don't know if you're talking about bad policy. Yeah, I think a bad policy. The way I would split that up is how the law is written and then how the law is actually interpreted and administered. Right, that's what policy is it's legal, and then it's going out and saying, well, is the law as it's written, what are people doing? What other laws might pertain to that? Are those about individual liberties and then how is it efficient, right? Is it a good use of money? And so the most obvious one is I would disagree with ICE. Yeah, ICE, detention centers, it's spending massive money, and this is at a time when consumer debt is up, energy prices are up, you're increasing taxes, and a lot of Americans disagree with it. We've seen 2 Americans get gunned down in the street. We saw those government administrators get fired, right? We saw them get fired. And so picking one bad policy I don't think I need to go further. I don't think anyone needs to go further than seeing, well, you spent money, you killed people, there's civil rights and liberties violations. Hey, Flow State, thank you so much. Huge super sticker. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. Very kind, very generous. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, so that's what I would say is ICE. $1.7 billion slush fund for insurrectionists. Yeah, the IRS tax fund. Yeah, Donald Trump, another bad policy is he wants to build a battle cruiser, a giant boat. Yeah, so Donald Trump sounds like a child. He sounds like a little kid. He wanted to build a big boat. I've got no clue why the US we're progressing into the realms of big boats. Why? That doesn't make any sense. For what reason? Don't you have these small boats? Hey, yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. Yeah. Maybe that's why, I can talk about conservative stuff sometimes and not get yelled at by everyone. Hey, Brahman, I'm going to ban you. I'm going to ban you next time you say something like that. Yeah. So it's condescending. It's condescending if you're not politically informed, or you're saying, here's my political belief. That's cool. But you're stating basically hate-based opinions about things that are towards something that you don't actually know about. ICE is working in most states without a problem. No, it's not, right? No, it's not. Right. So you're not even looking at evidence that there's been police chiefs all around the country who said we don't want to work with ICE. Right. So what about the women who was set on fire in New York State by illegal criminal? Yeah. Ban when you can't answer. Yeah. Ban when you wanted. I appreciate that you fit this into a conversation without domineering chat, but you're not serving yourself. You don't need to be here. You don't need to be on the Ducks Y channel today. If you want to come back in a day, go delete your far right conspiracy Breitbart New York Post news. You don't need to watch New York Post. You don't need to watch tabloids and think they're news, think they're about politics. So yeah. So you're going to say that someone who's mentally ill and caught someone on fire or whatever it was, right? You're going to say that someone who was a lone wolf extremist, and not even contextualize that in political extremism as the story that goes further, wider, deeper. Yeah, you don't need to be here today. Appreciate it. What happened with the ICE agent that shot Alex? Nothing, I don't believe. Yeah. How can someone who has 3 casinos go bankrupt? No idea. Remember MAGA, who when faced with a weird self-reflection feeling just repeat alpha's names like Smarty Pants Eddie. Yeah. I mean, this was one of the things, was making people and saying that, like, yeah, if you guys remember the 2000s and 2010s, when anyone could get published, right? It was no longer that you would have Pulitzer Prize winning authors and then, kind of these small books, but yeah, you would just publish this book. You would get a PR spot. You would put a bright orange and yellow cover, so it'd be really attractive to throw on television. And a lot of these books were about our personal relationships. It's like, cool, yeah, if that's what you want, you have a small cappuccino, and people say, the old, someone I disagree with, but Rob Noor might appreciate this. He's more of a right-leaning commentator, but he and I both might get our coffees in one day. We'd say, well, sip, right? So this is just what people are doing. Apparently you write a book, you tell rich people to go get more rich friends and beat up on poor people. Okay. Hey, thanks so much for the press F. Appreciate it. Thank you. That's awesome. So sip. But yeah, and then, so Fox News, they say, well, surface level news is about news is about deep hatred of people. And this is what social media is going to eat for the next year. And then people said yes to it. Hey, I can't integrate my brain. I can't be a nice person. I can't be a smart person. I can't be a kind person. Saying that people I've never met, I have deep hatred for, and that people that support them for whatever reason, I don't know, you might also be stupid, right? You may be a stupid person too, or you just went along with social media. But yeah, whatever that was. But it's like, yeah, you hate those people. You want to start fights with them. You want to go kill foreigners together because of some reason or something like that. Have I ever considered writing a book? Oh, thanks so much for the huge $2 super chat. Huge super chat from Aaron. Maybe. I was thinking about writing a book on justice. I've considered it, but I didn't put like any time into it. The thought crossed my mind. Most of my background and interest, my passion is political theory. It's talking about justice. I don't think it's a topic a ton of people are familiar with, but I think justice is very interesting. It's a way, to me, what justice does is it spans divides. So saying that, yeah, there is a guy living in a refrigerator box in New York City, a man or a woman living in a refrigerator box in New York City. And then there's also a cow. There's also Bessie, because I'm a vegan. There's Bessie's in some field someplace. I've never met her, but I think she's doing fine on planet Earth for the time being. And so normally those things have nothing to do with each other, but justice as a topic might tell us there is a ground, right? The center of justice and the small core of it, the small hardcore, the small, or whatever, it's not that, but the small, underlying reality of what we talk about when we talk about justice is about these two big divides. So I'd want to write a book that's something like that, but yeah. Yeah, Adolf Hitler was an unskilled bureaucrat. Adolf Hitler was a reactionary, and and Adolf Hitler, some would say that the only reason, like one explanation for why the neo-Nazis rose to power, built a command economy, and then when it went out, when they saw the pile of shit they built and had to go start invading places. Right, there's nothing good about Germany. It was never going to be a viable trade partner, and you're in the middle of Europe, duh, right? But some people, he's dealing with this problem. Is he? Was he? No, he didn't. He didn't do anything for it. But yeah, some people might say was that he aligned himself with this military culture. He himself was a veteran. He had served in the military, right? I don't think you're supposed to tie a ribbon on your door for Adolf Hitler in popular context. But yeah, what he went out and did was a lot of when he got sent to jail prior to taking over Germany for trying to do this little military takeover of a small part of Germany. And so, yeah, you say, well, this guy was an insurrectionist. Hitler was an insurrectionist. He was a political prisoner, but he wasn't a political prisoner. He was he was treason, right? That's high treason. So, Raquel Murillo. I'm in Arizona. Yeah, I'm in the Southwest United States, in Arizona. Yeah. Information for you. Donald Trump went bankrupt in his 3 casinos. Yeah, I'd mentioned this. I'm not trying to throw shots at Trump's business model, but I don't think a ton of people think Donald Trump understands information for what it is. And so, yeah, there's, Donald Trump's always been a lobbyist. He's been invited to go, the coal industry, the fossil fuel industry, without tight connections, but they'd always invited Donald Trump to go speak places since the 1990s, since he began building a public persona. So maybe he's smart in that way. He knew he could get speaker fees. He also knew that these were people that had interests that had nothing to do with the event, right? They didn't care how the coffee tasted. If there were, biscuits and gravy, they cared about Donald Trump and having more representation for fossil fuels. Yeah. So, but in terms of, right, Donald Trump, building this political alliance with the fossil fuel, the oil and gas industry, coal, this has nothing, the fact that he may be corrupt, he's made promises, he said, we've got common interests, and so I do this, you do this, whatever it was, and so however he makes decisions around that, it doesn't sound like expediency, it sounds like corruption to me, given everything. But yeah, this has nothing to do with whether or not he's a business genius or not. Sorry, guys. Hey, Alex, I appreciate it. I'm not reading any one of these. How do I ban you? Cool. I think you should trim your beard. You will look more good. Thank you. I appreciate the observation. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm an evidence-based politics channel. I call it scholastic politics. We can also talk philosophy, religion, culture, society, whatever you want. The late stage neoliberal capitalism and corporatism of our society as a whole. That's a huge question. Effects of late stage neoliberal capitalism. Yeah, it's weird. I think if you use corporatism as a way to create jobs and to reduce innovation, reduce thought processes, but then that same corporatism doesn't go out, right? Because there is this curious effect of corporatism, which is I worked at Vanguard. Vanguard is the world's largest financial. Yeah, I used to work at Vanguard. It's the world's largest financial company. And so when you work in a company, which is actually it's 200 companies, you have basically every other American has a Vanguard account or something, whatever. It's this weird thing. But when you're in that corporate system, you also learn how, what exists in the world. You learn about some cause, even if it's not it's not some deep, natural, philosophical, scientific description of things. And so it's weird. I think when we see these psychoanalytic forms of politics happening, and we're saying, yeah, what is it, right? I was thinking about this the other day. Is you can't. The person that desires something and goes to get it. So let's say we desire a new economic system. Well, you can't, if you're the person who desires to have a new economic system, once you get it, that's not actually what you desired, right? Because I can't desire to, have a vape or my cup of coffee and have it, right? Because then I don't desire it, I have it. So a person who desires something and pursues it still doesn't have it. So kind of a weird thing, this Lacanian idea a little bit, right? And so what was it that you were actually doing in the first place? But yeah, so I think of liberalism, a little neoliberalism, a little bit like this, is that, yeah, it gets more difficult when you say, well, you believe in corporatism because they're paying you, because you get direct deposits in the US or in Europe. And so you desire that, but you didn't desire the the actual knowledge that you have responsibility for some of the problems you create, or you have responsibility to go take a risk, right? Go build something yourself that is sustainable or is inclusive, right? That promotes global civil society. So I think the lack of responsibility is a big deal. Is that a God? What is that? Yuck. You guys like brown rice and veggies? Yeah. Oh, whoops. Is that what that was? Sorry. Nice. What's up? Nice. Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. IP of, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I wouldn't have an opinion on that. I wouldn't have a deep opinion on IP and medications. I would need some context, need a reminder of what that's like. I would say that, in terms of thinking about how corporate ecology or market, right? You can say this is either like a game. It's either like a game or it's like an economic game, right? It's a market-based game. Those, depending on how you define where IP actually comes from. Does it come from university systems? Does it come from markets? It comes from both. Okay, so it comes from both. And then, yeah, it comes from this desire for people to compete, to become wealthy. It also comes from this desire to help people and help them become well, healthy. So, yeah, so I don't know. You can tell me what I'm supposed to believe about that, I guess. Socialized medicine for all would be a good solution. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think for like Roy, you were talking about how, yeah, when we say that it is medicine's a huge thing, right? Any of these things, there isn't an infinite list. Some people would say, maybe people just one step to the left of where I claim to be here. Not that I, right? Because it's in real life, I'd be like, holy crap, what can I, this is not holy crap, but like, yeah, there's some crazy shit that we allow to happen. But yeah, there's not an infinite list of, housing, medicine, groceries, food, right? Transportation, you want to get around the city, stuff like this. And so, that's a lot for a place like the United States, where we're a nation of 350 million. There's other places in the world. So I don't see why we don't. Yeah. How was work at Vanguard? Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, crazy big company. Time went fast and it was a lot to learn. I would tell people it's a call center job and you might be like, oh, okay, cool. That makes sense. But yeah, it was Vanguard's probably the, like, whatever. If you want me to show off, it's the Harvard of call centers. I'll show off my call center job I had back in the day. Yeah. So yeah, I'm very grateful. I spent long enough there that it set me up for a very good career. I ended up working with people that were really nice people. I learned a lot from working with them, very ambitious people. But yeah, I worked at a call center and I was probably smarter than people I worked with from a call center. So, I mean, I know that's a douchebag thing to say. I don't mean to be a total douche, but yeah, it was also true, right? Harvard has a Harvard education, and like, obviously they're not comparable, but Harvard's acceptance rate is higher than Vanguard's. So, and yeah, so that's like a corporatism thing, is like, yeah, that's it's an ironic truth that I was a guy taking pensioner calls. If you were a pensioner, you had a retirement plan, I would take your call and you may think, well, okay, cool. That's the guy at the call center. But it's like, yeah, well, the fact that I'm doing that also means that I'm smarter than you, right? And you might have a $10 million company, or you're trying to build a $100 million company, but it's not going to change the fact that I'm smarter than you. And I'm the guy taking your calls. So there's corporate America, right? There's corporate America, is that the guy who's way smarter than you is making way less. And yeah. But he's got risk. He's got risk. You ain't got my risk. I need to work. There's nothing there. I'm doing brand new 0 to 1 Peter Thiel. 0 to 1 build, innovate, technology. Yeah. And so that was my experience at Vanguard, is you start learning how stupid people are because you've seen something big work, and then you realize that people building companies, it would take you 10 years to realize you're building something that is not you. You're building into something, and you're building something, you're contributing to something that's already bigger than you, right? A man apart. Yeah. Welcome to the patriarchy, by the way, right? I'm not getting too deep into ideology, but if you want to talk about real patriarchy, it's that, yeah, our economic systems and political systems are patriarchal because it doesn't matter. You can be a man or a woman and you're a fucking idiot. You start a business and you're not smart. You're a very rude person, and you start building your dumb fucking company, or you get a job, you hire people, and suddenly you're not a genius, but you got to make it work. And then at some point you become a genius, but that's still a genius. You didn't realize that you are building something that already exists, right? You're not innovating, you're not changing anything. And the fact that you don't realize that until you're 45 years old, and then you realize it again, and you realize that some guy, some dipshit like me out of college, learned it at a corporate job, right? This is strange, right? This girl I dated in college, she worked at Target, and she was a manager, right? And this was one of the funny things is I always thought I was really important when I was working in tech. It was something I struggled with. Personally, I feel really bad about it. But yeah, she was just, this girl I dated, she ended up being a Target manager, and we had talked about it once or twice. And yeah, I mean, she's very cool. She was very cool, but her day was managing some days, whatever it was, $400,000 to $800,000 in sales, or whatever it was. It was like a stupid number, right? And so you can think that when you go to Target, if you go to Target in the United States, there's corporatism, right? The fact that Target just opens up a location and suddenly it's multiple orders of magnitude more important and larger than any of these stupid fuckers writing the bright orange, bright yellow books, right? These dumb fucking people that don't realize that people endorsing that you have a group identity of working in whatever it is, you're in technology, you're like an Alex Hormozzi small business marketing entrepreneur. No, you're a fucking dipshit, right? You're a dipshit. You think you did something significant, but you got rich, right? But you're not smart. And so, yeah, people can't accept that fact. And yeah, congratulations. Welcome to the world, buddy. Yeah, very dumb fucking people at the end of the day. Yeah. Yeah, but tell me this, right? Pretend like I don't understand it. Well, you didn't care about it, right? There you go. So you don't understand it because you didn't. So if you say it doesn't matter and you don't care about it, you just want to talk about it, it means you didn't know it. So that means, again, vis-a-vis by extension, that the fucking guy working at Dish Television selling renewal packages is probably smarter than you. Would I ever do gay for pay? No, I'm not an adult film actor. Yeah, so no, I wouldn't. $100,000 is not that much money. So, yeah. Yeah. Don't recommend this channel. Cool. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what was wrong with that, but hey, Jay, good to see you. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna probably close the stream down, guys, pretty soon. If you guys want to like this stream, subscribe, anything like that. Thanks. I don't need help on the channel, Hypa. I think you're being nice, but I don't need help. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Yeah. Yep. Hey, I agree. Yeah. Aaron, you can super chat all your gay film money.